Welcome back to Financial Strategies with Andrew Adjemi in Connecticut and Daniel Adjemi in Colorado.
Daniel, I paid a lot of tuition to the School of Hard Knocks, and one of those lessons that I've learned was when I was in high school. I was in shop class. Was my favorite part of school. If it wasn't for shop class, I probably wouldn't have gone to school as much as I did. But in shop class, there were some guys working on one of the cars, and they asked me for help, so I went over to help them with it. And I used a nut driver to push against something to use and hit against something to use as a hammer. And I slipped and ended up slitting my finger open where I needed like 8 stitches in my finger because I was using the wrong tool in the wrong way. And, you talk about purpose. The purpose of that tool was used wrongly. And as you guys were growing up, I always say, make sure you guys use the right tool for the right thing. Otherwise, that's how things get broken. And I learned it the hard way in the School of Hard Knocks. I'm Andrew Adjemi.
And I'm Daniel Adjemi, and you're listening to Financial Strategies. Today, we're talking about what is your paycheck replacement plan. Dad, I think that's a story that we all need to dive a little bit deeper into and understand what you're talking about using tools for the wrong purpose. You recovered, your hand healed, you recovered, you're not disabled, you're not missing a hand. But what does that have to do with people and their finances?
Well, that's excellent, but it is something, Daniel, because I'm as I look at it, I still can see the scar. I can still, it's been over 40 years, right? I have the scar. I have that mark on me to remind me of that. And what that has to do with retirement and when we're talking about paycheck replacement is making sure that you're using your money for the right purpose and have it invested for the right purpose. The first thing that we recommend for people as they're approaching retirement, be an income specialist that we are, is make sure that we get your purpose taken care of. Number one, how much money do you need in retirement? And number two, making sure that your money that you do have, like at the top of the show, we talked about Harry with his $2 million is going to pump out $100,000 every year for him. So making sure that you're getting that pumped out. Now, if you're in the case of Mary, who she had plenty of money set up for purpose, and then she had her Roth IRA. She said, "Well, I can let this grow. I can have this perform for me." And then so we set that one up for performance, and she did super well on that in 2020, right? Getting well over 50% return on that, the way that we had set it up, even conservatively speaking. But purpose, planning for purpose, making sure that your purpose is in place. That's the foundation to a retirement plan. Making sure that the purpose is there, and then from there you can build upon that.
So you're saying purpose is the right tool. Some financial people, some of these organizations like that big name brand box company we were talking about earlier, sometimes they don't have the right tools. They're not even allowed to use the right tools. And you hear
Right.
you hear these kinds of things. Well, this fund is the best fund, and it's good for your 529 for your
Retirement
7-year-old
for
kid. This is good for the
everything.
30-year-old who's saving $50,000 a year. This is good for the 65-year-old who's going to retire next year, and this is good for the 95-year-old who is trying to get ready to pass on their money to next generations. That doesn't make any sense. That's
No,
using a
no.
nut driver, as you're talking
Yeah.
about, for every single thing, for hammering in nails, for taking off tires, for
Yeah.
ironing your clothes, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
it makes no sense.
Yeah, well, that's a great example because when I was growing up and working around the house with things, adjustable wrench was the greatest thing to me, right? Because you can use adjustable wrench for so many things, right? And working on bikes and everything, right? Then I went and I worked at the gas station, and the owner of the gas station says, "Don't you ever touch an adjustable wrench," it's, it's like the gas or the pair of vice grips you can use for everything, right? And
Yeah.
but no, that's the mutual fund you're talking about. Use it for everything, A to Z, good for what ails you and everything in between. but that's not what happens with retirement. That's why a specialist is important in retirement that can help you get, it's like, if you and our listening audience had a leak in your plumbing at your house, are you going to call the carpenter to fix your leak? Or are you going to call a plumber? You're going to call a plumber because the plumber has the tools. Now, a carpenter might be able to fix a leak, but you're hoping that he's going to fix a leak. But again, you don't want to base the water leak in your house upon hope. In the same way, you don't want to base your retirement plan upon hope. I mean, I don't think, I don't.
They're nice people, right? They're nice people, and they do the best that they can, right? The carpenter is going to do the best that they can, and they
Right.
might do a decent job. And it's,
Might.
but why not get the right person who's done it before and who understands the in and outs? There was a wise investor one time who said, every investment we make, we either become richer or wiser. Never both.
That's great. I mean, if you call the plumber for that leak in your house, you're going to be guaranteed that he gets it done, right? Or at least he's going to promise you that he's going to get it done properly. And if it doesn't, well, you come back and he'll take care of that, right? So, I mean, same way with people's retirement plans is that, to be able to make sure that you have promises and guarantees to be able to get to replace your paycheck as opposed to just hope. Well, I need to remind you that if you're in our listening audience, you're listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. Today's topic is paycheck replacement in retirement. And the piece that we have to go along with today's show is the 7 risks of retirement to make sure that you don't run out of money before you run out of life. And the book, Return on Principle, if you'd like that, by calling 800-725-7616, 800-725-7616. And we are listening to Financial Strategies. Daniel, we only have a few minutes left in our show today. We want to make sure that we, bring everything on in for these folks. We've been talking about paycheck replacement. We're talking about making sure that people have that purpose and that income that they need to be able to have what they need for the rest of their life, switching from accumulation to distribution at the proper time. That's the number one enemy, the number one mistake that retirees make with their money, and thus they run out of money because they don't switch in the proper time frame. What are we living out here? I think there's something we're living out.
Well, it's education. So people are saying, well, what is that? What is that? What is that? And it starts with education. So to get into it, quick, it depends upon people's risk tolerance and their needs. That's why I keep saying you have to understand how much money that you need to have that lifestyle that you want. So the scenario with the gentleman who, now has 1.5 million and has 90,000 of income off of that. There was a target. He had to get a certain amount of money. So we were able to set him up in products that we knew on X date, right? Like a pension, you're going to get this much money. So with a pension, right? A pension, you put in so much money because on X amount, on X date, when you retire, you're going to get certain amount. So right. We build a pension for the parts of the money that he needs, that guarantee that he needs to know how much he's going to get. Now it could do better than that, but we set it up that way. And then for the portion where we call moderate, but this is an educational process that we go through and develop together. This isn't a one-time process. This is throughout the process, right? What we call the moderate is where you invest in different types of income generating vehicles. So these may be things like preferred stocks, where you're up higher. When markets are as frothy as they are right now, you want to move up in the capital structure. What does that mean? You want to move up where you're safer, where you get paid before anybody else, right? So you move up in the capital structure, safer and safer things. So the preferred stocks are up higher in that capital structure than, say, just a typical stock. The income they pay is up higher in the capital structure, right? You can do some venture capital / private equity type stuff that can pay you a good income. And why is
alternatives,
that
right?
Alternatives,
right?
Why is that important? Because you can participate in markets that everyone's not able to participate in. And that is an important thing to protect you against inflation. Now, some people don't want any of that because it sounds scary to them, which is fine. But
Right.
Wall Street gets rich off of companies like Facebook. They have the opportunity to invest in Facebook before it goes public, or Airbnb, right?
Right.
And then when it comes out where everyone can participate, it jumps up 100%. I think
Right.
Airbnb did that in the day before anyone could participate in it. It jumped up that. So the investment bankers are the ones who get rich off of that. Well, this allows the conservative, the moderate, I should say, investor to be able to participate in some of these things. And that allows them to appreciate in some of this stuff without taking on huge risk. Like we talked about earlier, a 7% return over 40, 50 years when you have multiple 50% downturns does
Yeah.
not sound exciting. You have better risk return portfolios available to you if you get creative and you know how to participate in these income-based alternatives.
Right. So if you're in our listening audience, make sure you're talking to an income specialist to be able to do that, be able to help you with those alternatives, those preferreds, those three kinds of individual bonds, a couple kinds of annuities that will be able to help you to be able to have the income, the paycheck replacement that you need to last the rest of your life. Also, when you're looking at that income specialist, make sure that they're a fiduciary, somebody that's going to work in your best interest, not in the best interest of stockholders or of the company president or whatever the case may be from that standpoint, that will work in your best interest. You've been listening to Financial Strategies with Andrew and Daniel Adjemi. It's been great to be with you today. I hope you've enjoyed the show. And if you'd like the report called 7 Risks of Your Retirement, 7 Risks of Your Retirement, or the return on principal to the next 5 callers at 800-725-7616. Megan's looking forward to taking your call and talking with you about that. Return on principal for the next 5 callers, and the 7 risks of retirement, free at no obligation, calling 800-725-7616. We'll look forward to speaking with you and being back again with you next week. Have a great day.
I'm David Scranton, founder of the Retirement Income Store. If you're in or near retirement, are you certain you have the right retirement plan in place? Do you want to help ensure your nest egg will last you all throughout retirement? Take our retirement review quiz and find out in 5 minutes or less if you're doing everything you can to achieve a more successful retirement.
Visit us online at adjemi.com. That's AGEMY.com.